Hello, everyone, and welcome to the STL Tech Talk podcast. My name is JJ Hammond. We have another great show for you. Are you ready for the top tech news stories from around St. Louis? Apps you should download, awesome interviews, fun and lively commentary? Of course you are. Up first is our guest. We have two, a St. Louis native with bachelor's in anthropology and international studies from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. She continues to work with the refugee and immigrant population of St. Louis as a professional connector for the St. Louis Mosaic Project, which helps newcomers to the region network into jobs. With a heart for her hometown, she is dedicated to aiding efforts to make St. Louis a more diverse, progressive, and exciting place to live. The very talented and beautiful, I might add, Colleen Liebig. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like I said, hopefully the listeners go to watch this because it's like, whoa, easily the best looking guest we've had so far. Up next, our other guest, however, and not bad looking, so I'm not dogging you either, a partner at Cultivation Capital. He manages operations and the back office team at the firm. This includes fundraising, legal, and accounting for both the technological and life sciences funds. The great Kyle Welborn. Hello and welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, thanks. It's exciting to be here.
Oh, yeah. But the show's not possible without my good friend, founder of what is STLTechTalk, the uncanny Kevin Harvell. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Colleen, Kyle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, yeah. And don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at STLTechTalk and all the other social media platforms. Just search for STLTechTalk. You'll find us there. Visit STLTechTalk.com today. And don't forget, you can interact with the show by sending us feedback to contact@STLTechTalk.com. If you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room or Twitter, and we will do our best to answer those questions in a very timely manner. Special thank yous go out to InvisibleGirlfriend.com. Both of those guys for our last show. Phenomenal show. Thank you so much. And for some reason, out of all the awesome stuff we talked about, some of the feedback was, hey, is the one guy single? And I'm like, seriously? That's what you pulled out of this thing? But no, it's hilarious. But he's a good-looking guy with an accent, so that never hurts. But we just want to thank you for being awesome guests and for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Go check them out again. That's InvisibleGirlfriend.com. Also, while we're thanking people, let's thank the sponsors of the show, Heartland Realty. Go to heartlandhomesrealty.com for all your real estate needs today. And Unidev. If you dream it, they can build it. Custom software, end-to-end development, beautiful web design, and creative marketing solutions. In business for the last 25 years with 200-plus customers, 24/7 support, you will not be let down or left out on the creation of your dreams. If you want software development, content management systems, mobile development, website design, e-commerce solutions, digital marketing, and hosting, go to our website and click on their banner and get the high-quality service you deserve today. So let's get to it with the very first question to our guests. Explain what Cultivation Capital is and who are some of the companies involved in it.
Cultivation Capital is a venture firm that manages a couple of different venture capital funds focused on investing in early-stage companies, typically raising between $500,000 to $3 million. So we invest $250,000 up to about $1.5 million in these early-stage companies, try and provide the capital that they need to continue to grow and eventually have a successful exit where we get repaid and get to provide a return to our investors. So we have a fund that focuses on life sciences companies, so biotech type firms, and then a fund that focuses on software and IT companies that invests in a lot, websites, business-to-business software, and other things like that.
Nice.
So how long has Cultivation Capital been around?
We launched in March of 2012. So we kind of manage these two main funds right now, have helped start a couple of accelerator programs that invest in some earlier stage companies. We have 22 companies in the portfolio to date and have invested in 2 accelerators as well.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And I wanted to say welcome Brian Felt to the show. Always a pleasure to have your happy mug there on the screen. So
yeah, thanks for having me.
Welcome. We didn't get your intro. I apologize, but just insert awesome and then Brian Felt right there. So what are some of the goals of Cultivation Capital?
So we're, as a venture firm, we're trying to provide capital for these early stage companies, but we're also trying to provide efficient and effective ways for individuals who want to invest in this asset class in these early stage companies to do so. So we've got about 140 investors across our different funds, and really what we find is there's a tremendous amount of interest in investing in this asset class, but it's actually very difficult to do so. It takes a lot of time to review these companies, do due diligence, structure a deal, and invest in enough to have a diversified portfolio. So what we came to on the investor side is a way for them to go ahead and get in a portfolio of early stage companies through one individual investment in one of our funds. And then on the company side, we're looking for great high growth opportunities that can continue to grow and ultimately provide investor return. But I think what's also important is venture capital is primarily a local business. Most of the funds around the world invest in a pretty confined geographic area, generally around where the fund operates out of. So part of our goal is certainly to create a thriving venture capital industry in St. Louis, because we ultimately believe that will lead to more local companies getting funded and growing here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And and we're going to get into kind of some questions about maybe some pitfalls and different stuff like that. But Brian, did you have any questions?
No, I don't. But I just saw across the wire you guys are coming out with another funding of. Remind me the company here.
Gremlin.
I guess Gremlin, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's exciting stuff. You guys certainly do plenty in the area.
Yeah, that is awesome. So Kevin, you're up with the next question.
So for companies looking for investment, getting ready to make a pitch, what sort of advice would you want to give to them to help streamline their process, to give them a better chance to put their best foot forward?
So I think one of the important ways to start is to understand kind of where the company is in terms of its own development and to start pitching at the right point. And what I mean by that is we're actually very blessed here in St. Louis to have a number of different capital sources. We have a number of different accelerator programs investing $25,000 to $100,000 a year. We have Arch Grants making $50,000 investments in companies and doing about 20 of those a year. So I think kind of step one is make sure you're pitching the audience that's appropriate for the type of capital you need. So we find a lot of entrepreneurs start with, well, I think I'm going to need X number of dollars in order to get my business profitable, and that might be $4 million. Well, you really can't start day one with a $4 million pitch. You kind of need to break it up into pieces and deliver on milestones as you go and raise additional capital. So I think if you're at an earlier stage, it might be an Arch Grant, it might be apply for Capital Innovators, and then you have a higher degree of likelihood of getting the follow-on funding if you kind of followed this process.
Okay.
So start at the right spot and then and try and break up the dollars you need based on milestones, so you're not trying to raise all of it up front. It's difficult to go out and say I need $30 million. People are going to look at it.
You go,
Right.
Yeah, your idea is not there right now.
Exactly.
So let's talk about scale. No. So what are the different phases of getting investment? So like, what would you say are kind of some steps in which people have to go through?
So the reality in terms of raising from either angel investors or venture capitalists is the number of companies nationally that are going to get funded by those groups is very small. So there's, I think, like 2 to 3 million businesses started in the United States every year, and 600 to 1,000 of them will raise some type of venture capital or have a large group of angel investors really outside of friends and family go ahead and invest in them. So it takes, I think, first a type of company that has the ability to ramp up and scale very, very quickly, and that can be sold primarily to another company, although some companies certainly have will have an IPO in a 3 to 7 year time frame. So
Okay.
so first, as an entrepreneur, you have to decide, is this the type of business do I want to build? Am I building a business that I'm willing to try and get sold to another company in 3 to 7 years? Versus, is this a business I want to pass on to my grandkids? And that's an important question, I think, up front. And then if after all of that still qualify for this kind of venture capital bucket, it's your goal as the entrepreneur is to get the business as far along on as little capital as you can,
Right.
so that you can ultimately make a pitch to an outside investor, get them interested, and still find a way to maintain as much equity for yourself. The earlier you have to go out and raise money, the more you have to give up, because inherently the more risk there is at those given points.
Exactly. And so be focused on mathematics. People listening to this show, or if you're, wanting to, go out and start one of these companies, or even invest in one of these startups and stuff like that, you always want to, people always want to put off the hard things. Do those things first. Figure out what the financial aspects of those things look like before you commit to wholeheartedly, right?
Yeah.
And that's some of the pitfalls that we can that I would definitely like to talk about. But just because I don't want her to sit there and not talk at all, Colleen, what has the startup scene, or what has the investment scene looked like for the newcomers to St. Louis? Like the immigrants or the transplants.
Sure. So, that's one aspect of my role, but, as portfolio success manager, once we invest in the company, I come in on the back end of the process. So I help the companies find the talent they need, essentially. Since it's a portfolio of firms, we are able to sort of share resources among the portfolio. I found that, after being here for a year and a half, initially when the startup scene was really hatching, it was more about spreading the word, getting out on university campuses, making sure students were aware of, the startup scene that was forming or burgeoning, really. And now, more and more so, I'm meeting people and getting contacted by people from out of state who are interested in knowing about what's going on here, because it's sort of gotten on the national radar.
Right.
Whether there are people who are from St. Louis and have left and want to come back, or people who have never been here before, it's really cool to see the Arch becoming this magnet that's just getting stronger and stronger, and really strengthening the downtown area. And being in a technology incubator, T-Rex, we're seeing it just flourishing every day. So it's a really exciting time to be living in St. Louis in terms of entrepreneurial activity and the talent that's here, that's really getting plugged in and in a bunch of different capacities. So.
Well, and the next question that I have is, what are you guys seeing the most of? Are you guys seeing the most of people who want to get bought out within the next 3 to some odd years, or are you seeing more long-term goals come through?
I think every company we look at and every company we invest in would certainly be willing to go and
for millions of dollars, right,
and go through that process. But I think knowing percentage-wise how rare that's going to be. One of the things that as an entrepreneur, when you take somebody else's money to build your business, you need to have a credible plan to pay them back and give them a return. So you sort of make that sacrifice, or you make that decision that you're going to be willing to take a sale if it's good for the investors and yourself. So there's certainly, in order to build a valuable company that's ultimately going to get purchased by somebody, you have to have a long-term plan in being a really great company that's going to make their customers incredibly happy.
And I've got to think that on the back end, you guys, you're giving a consultation, and that's, they listen to that, because if I'm, if I have no idea about this space, right, I just have the idea, and I have, some of the knowledge about how to make a product, or, how, and all this other kind of stuff, but I don't know anything about this next level of business stuff, the investment, all that kind of stuff. I got to think that's a little bit of pressure on your guys' shoulders. So how do you guys kind of navigate that? Like, do you just use statistics and numbers to help you help the people that you're talking with, or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, I mean the numbers always act as a guidepost. So in a typical investment round, on average, a founding team or a company will give up 10 to 20% of the business for each round. So that kind of helps that helps us have conversations about, okay, this is what the company's worth today, and this is how much we think you should raise so that you can get through the next 8 months. Okay. I had a conversation with an entrepreneur the other day that said I wanted to raise $250,000, and I think my company's worth $2.5 million, but I don't want to give up more than 20%. And somebody offered me $1 million. Does that just mean my company, instead of being worth $2.5 million, is actually worth a lot more? And so the numbers can help, I think, keep some of those conversations grounded. But ultimately, we're going to make an investment, and it's going to be a minority investment. The majority of the company is still going to be owned by the founding team, and we need to have a great relationship with them and be able to successfully work together. And a lot of Colleen's role is helping them find other great teammates, because we really are totally invested in the company, and their success is critical to our returns and everything else.
Well, yeah, you don't want to make yourselves look bad. Oh, it's these guys. These guys, no. But you guys have a really good reputation in St. Louis and abroad. So, I mean, you're obviously doing some things that are right. So let's talk about some of those success stories. Talk about some of the success stories of the company who have received funding from Cultivation Capital or their partners.
I think one of the recent success stories is a company that went through both Capital Innovators and Cultivation did a follow-on investment in called Gainsight. Gainsight is a software business that provides customer success management tools for other companies, primarily software companies. So went through Capital Innovators and got that $50,000. Our fund put in $500,000 in 2012. They've since raised over $50 million from Battery Ventures, Bain Capital, and Bessemer. And they actually have a very large contingent. They've got about 60-plus employees here in St. Louis. And Colleen actually just helped them hire 8 new people for their St. Louis office.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Guys, Brian, Kevin?
No, that's really good. What are some of the, do you have any others that you can talk about other than Gainsight as well?
Sure. So another company that actually went through Capital Innovators and is now a Cultivation Capital portfolio company is TuneSpeak. And they started out as 2 brothers who are musicians. And the pain point they found was that they wanted to be able to identify and reward their most passionate fans. So they're a loyalty platform for bands to reward their most loyal fans. So in the last 18 months, they've gone from about 3 employees to 12, and I've actually helped them build out that team with individuals who started out as interns and are now managing operations at the company. And in the last 18 months, they've gained over 100,000 followers on Facebook. They've worked with 250 bands, including Dave Matthews Band, Kings of Leon, Avett Brothers, Michael Franti. The list goes on. Of exciting bands.
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie, yeah.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're really 35,000 followers on Twitter. So in the last 18 months, they've had some major accomplishments, and they're really going in the direction of reimagining the fan club in the music industry. So they're an exciting.
That helps. Yeah, and that helps. And I was up at T-Rex, and I've been, I kind of poke my head in there every once in a while, and it's cool because they have, kind of what I got going on, which is like the posters up and the guitars out and different stuff like that. I'm gonna just walk in and start playing one of those guitars one day. But it's really cool to see that. It was really cool to see that idea wasn't, because so often I come across startups that follow this weird arc, right? Like they have this somewhat success, whatever, and then they're gone. But it was an awesome idea, and it should have went somewhere, but there was maybe the team wasn't where it needed to be or financial or whatever. But it's nice to see them and others like them doing things that are productive and moving forward. Kevin, you're up with the next question, sir.
Right. So, from your vantage point, what does the future look like for St. Louis startups?
So I think what's exciting and what we've done a really nice job doing is providing some seed and early stage capital. If you count up the number of companies that won an Arch grant and went through Capital Innovators, 630. Next year, a new women's accelerator program is launching called Prosper. There's an agriculture technology-focused accelerator called Yield Lab launching. So we're getting to, I think, a really strong critical mass in terms of a number of accelerated businesses that have some early stage investors, have some great teams, strong mentors, and that are going to be kind of based in this region. And we're seeing positive signs in terms of follow-on capital as well. So our funds are only big enough to do rounds that are maybe $1 to $3 million, but ultimately the companies that really take off and are growing at that very, very rapid trajectory are going to need more money. And I think what the future what the future needs to hold is more capital for those companies. We've seen some great things happen recently. One of the success stories on our life sciences side has been a company called Adarza Biosystems. Adarza has a test that they've created that can identify many, many different types of proteins and very small molecules that exist within a cell and within a blood sample. And they can run very rapidly one test with one blood sample to identify a whole bunch of different proteins that may exist in that. And that's actually really hard to do, and it's really important for the further development of personalized medicine.
Right.
So they raised some money from BioGenerator locally. They won an Arch grant. We did a follow-on investment, and then as part of a large Series A round, ultimately we put together a couple $1 million and had Siemens Ventures, which is the venture arm of Siemens, a very large multi-conglomerate based in Germany, came in to invest in the round as well.
Nice.
They're actually using clean rooms out in St. Charles in Sun Edison space to develop these chips. So it's a great example of the community being able to pull together the capital they need to ultimately attract that follow-on round. So I really think the future holds hopefully more of that and a greater ability for the companies to get those big rounds of capital so they can go out and hire 50, 60, 100, a couple of hundred people and really take off.
So what was the name of that last one you just said?
Adarza Biosystems.
Adarza Biosystems. Okay. I thought it was something else. I'm trying to help promote this other guy's lipospectrum thing, but there's other stuff like that that's very exciting that changes the world. In fact, before the show started, we were talking about how all the amazing things that are really coming out of these research firms that we need to put more of a spotlight on, right? Like we don't always need to focus on the negative here in St. Louis. We can definitely focus on things that are getting done around this town that are going to change the world. And health is a big thing for me, and it's exciting to see that you guys are involved with that. So on average, like what do you guys usually see right now, being kind of like looking out there? Do you guys see more of the consumer focused startups kind of coming up? Do you see more biogenerators, or is there kind of a nice balance?
We typically look at about 40 investment opportunities a month.
Whoa, that's crazy.
So half life sciences, half software, and certainly they run the gamut within those buckets. So we see new pharmaceutical companies, we see new diagnostic tools, we see a lot of agriculture technology, we see a lot of healthcare IT opportunities, and then on the software side, we as a firm has predominantly been investing in software companies that sell to other businesses, so software as a service B2B or SaaS B2B companies.
Nice.
But we do see some consumer and some other things. I do think one of the challenges in the Midwest on the consumer side is those can take a lot of capital and before you necessarily have a tremendous amount of traction to show investors, and it can be a little bit challenging, I think, in this Midwestern environment to go out and say, we're going to be the next Snapchat or something like that. We don't see as many of those funded out of the Midwest, but we do see a lot of, because there's such a large business base, a lot of B2B companies that are growing here.
That's awesome. I mean, it's tough, because you always want to support as much as you can, but I'm sure, I mean, given that there's 40 a month you guys have, I'm sure you guys you're just really good at saying no at this point. No, and teaching people how to say no, right? Like, man, that's a good idea. Let me think on this for a second. Let me see the whole picture. Let me see how this stuff plays out. So, what can we look forward from Cultivation Capital going forward, and where can people find out more about what you individually are doing and then Cultivation Capital are doing?
So a great place to follow what's going on with us. We have a lot of things on our website, but we're also investors in LockerDome and have a great Cultivation Capital locker on LockerDome, featuring a lot of the great work from Brian and the Business Journal and some other places where you can get updates on what's going on, and then certainly across Twitter and Facebook.
Absolutely. So we do have a Twitter account, and if you go to the website, the careers page, you can submit your resume. It goes directly to me, and I'm always happy to meet with people who are interested in our portfolio companies and want to maybe even get a tour of T-Rex and just learn about what's going on in the scene. I'm happy to be a resource.
We're actually, when we look at our website analytics, our most viewed page is the careers page. So more than the portfolio or the people are looking for money, it's people applying for jobs, and there's quite a few open across the portfolio right now.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's solid. Brian, was there any questions you had, or Kevin?
No, I think it was just interesting when you said how hands-on you guys are at cultivation. It's something that I've seen from an outsider's perspective. You have board seats on most, if not all, of the portfolio. Come to a lot of those general partners that you have, that they're extremely involved in these companies. If not daily, then definitely weekly. And I think that's there's something to be said for that, because I don't think that's necessarily the norm across the board in venture capital.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, and everybody needs more help. So usually, the companies at this stage, and most businesses are looking for additional hands and additional help. So, and try and leverage the investor base as a resource as well. So with this, about 140 investors across the different funds, every quarter they get a written update on what's going on with the portfolio companies, and part of it is ask for help, introductions, and try and leverage all those different folks to ultimately help drive growth for the companies that we've invested in.
Well, thank you both for being on. You're like I said, you're gorgeous. You're doing wonderful things in and around St. Louis, so we thank you very much for that. The door is always open if you want to come back and talk about some of the cool things that have happened, through the winter or whatever the case is. Again, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brian, how are you doing today?
Doing good, Kevin. How are you?
Good. What's new at the Business Journal?
Plenty. I guess since the last time I came on here in early October, plenty has happened. You heard the folks over at Cultivation just talk about how Adarza was teaming up with SunEdison. That was more on the SunEdison semiconductor business, but their solar developing unit, SunEdison, has just kind of been on a mission since the last time we talked. They've been going crazy. They created a second YieldCo, or announced a second YieldCo, which is essentially just a public company that creates more value for the solar projects that SunEdison owns. They've been buying more than $250 million worth of solar projects in the U.S. They've established a joint venture in China to develop these solar projects. So they're really a company that might fly under the radar a little bit, but they're one of the top performing stocks in the world in terms of the solar industry. So keep an eye out on SunEdison as we go into 2015, because they're probably going to be do big things. And obviously plug for the Business Journal. We wrote a centerpiece on them a couple weeks ago, so you can go and search for that on our site. More on the tech side of things. one of the bigger deals that happened in October, or at least the last month or so, Shipworks, the software company that does shipping stuff. They work with a lot of big vendors that you've heard about, Amazon being one of them, was acquired for $22 million in cash from Stamps.com.
Wow.
It really diversified Stamps.com's kind of offerings that they can hand out and wean them off of relying too much on the Postal Service. But it's another example of a tech company in St. Louis that's getting acquired by a big-time player across the U.S. and the world. If you remember a couple months ago, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, Answers Corporation was acquired by Apex Partners for a deal that was, I think, close to $1 billion. So it's something that is definitely a positive sign for St. Louis.
Nice, nice.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Sure. One or two items that I still have. Go ahead, Kevin.
Said I know we got a couple stories in that we were wanting to talk about that we got from Biz Journal today as well. About
Absolutely.
about wearable technology, stuff like that. I know you guys have done a little bit recently about the Microsoft Band that just came out.
Yeah, obviously wearable technology just becoming more and more popular as the months go on. Whether it's the new wearable watches coming out, or anything that can track pretty much anything you can do. And that's good news for a bunch of St. Louis startups. Earbuds being one, which, if you remember, they make headphones for athletes, but they were acquired by Harman International several months ago, and they're now leading their headphone division, and they've said that they're looking to create more wearables, which they think is an untapped market. So I'm not exactly sure what those plans will be yet, but it's definitely going to be something to keep your eye on as Earbuds creates more of these wearables, because it's just an industry that's going to be more in demand.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm wearing my wearable now. Kevin was wearing a Fitbit for a while, so he was doing that stuff. It's going to be amazing to see this stuff going forward. And like you said, a lot of this. There's 42% of U.S. online adults were interested in the wristband device. That's crazy. I'm quoting you from your own Tech Flash. I mean, this is solid stuff. We're gonna have looks. We're gonna have links to your stories on our site so that people can go directly to the Biz Journal to find out these stories. The other one that I wanted to talk about was the drones view of St. Louis, the SIUE professor's battery patent. So. There was some stuff in here. Did we already cover all that, or was there something else in here that we didn't cover?
No, we haven't covered all of it.
Yeah, so the drone stuff is interesting. There are a lot of companies that are figuring out exactly how to use drones and what it means, and certainly you have a lot with the the FAA in terms of trying to figure out who can and who can't use drones. I believe the folks at SIUE just flew a drone around St. Louis and just kind of gave an aerial view of the city, of the suburbs around it, and it was really pretty cool. I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out in terms of how people can use drones. I mean, certainly we have Monsanto, KWS, or any number of others like that, and I think they stand to gain significantly from drone usage as it relates to their crops and their fields, and how they'll be able to get better aerial shots and more up-to-date shots using those drones. And it's definitely something that we have covered previously in the Business Journal. You can go and look for it. Wish I had those stats off the top of my head, but unfortunately I don't.
I see on this blog post you do have the video from some of the drone footage shot, and
nice.
That is just awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. It's obviously going to be more pervasive as time goes on, similar to the wearables.
Yes.
So the other story that I wanted to touch on a little bit that was on the Business Journal is Amazon's first web producer. 3 lessons Jeff Bezos taught me about running a startup. So this was by Caroline Portillo. Is that how you say her name? If I'm butchering it, I apologize.
Sure.
In the mid-1990s, the website producer Miriam Mohit decided to start their online bookstore. Basically, it's just a nice article about how to run a startup, what it's like to be women in a startup community, which again we're trying to push more engagement on that front, women in technology just in general. and then talking about the different ways that they connect and how to support and all that kind of stuff goes. So be on the lookout for that article. The other one that I saw, I'm a big fan of I-10. They don't have a lot of news coming out just all the time, but when they do have stuff that comes out, it's pretty exciting, and I do like their meetings. One of theirs is EIR to CEO. This was when IT, the innovation nonprofit at the center of the tech startup ecosystem, launched their new program last fall. They filled a clear hole in the startup process by matching experienced entrepreneurs in residence with emerging tech companies and giving those EIRs the support they needed to immerse themselves into that business. Startups who qualify for the program benefit from working side by side with someone who's already walked in their shoes. We highlighted this a little bit with Cultivation Capital, but I mean, guys, how important is it for just anything nowadays to have someone who's been through the process be a part of the process with you?
Yeah, that certainly is vital for startup companies to have that type of hands-on experience, or somebody that's been kind of through the fire, so to speak, to be able to weigh in with their thoughts, experiences, and network, to be honest with you, just making those connections to put you in touch with other people. Yeah, I-10 has that EIR program that's very successful. It's relatively new in the last year, so they get their funding from, or at least some of the funding from the Kauffman organization over in Kansas City, but it enables I-10 to pair experienced entrepreneurs who have gone through similar issues before with those startup companies. And obviously one of the most successful examples of that is the company that we just wrote about how one of the EIRs has gone to become taking over as CEO of one of these companies to really take them to the next level. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see if that type of thing happens in the future. I know that's what I-10 is hoping for, and it seems to be working out good so far.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about Mary Louise Helbig. Yeah, she's
sure. Yeah, Healthy Me.
December
Healthy
1st, I believe.
Yep, Healthy Me's. So Healthy Me is essentially a mobile health app way to deal with your health in a mobile application type of way. We'll have more information about that as well on the site. But it's just really cool to see this stuff and talk about it, and where you can find out more information. Again, that's i10stl.org for people who want to find out more information about this and other opportunities, because like I said, there's nothing better than having someone like you said, Brian, that they can go through the fire and talk about this sort of stuff. The next two stories I had were really just kind of weird offshoot stories, but just kind of interesting from the University of Washington University in St. Louis. Ooh. The Himalayan Viagra fuels caterpillar fungus gold rush. So that's kind of an interesting story. Go to our site and click on that to find out more information. And then Washington University also is working with the St. Louis Art Museum and the Mildred Lane Kemper Art Museum to check out some of the 3 Egyptian mummies that they received for CT scans. So that's pretty exciting stuff right there. For more information, again, go to STLTechTalk.com and click on this episode of Cultivation Capital to find out more information. Brian, where can people find out more information about you and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. You go to the St. Louis Business Journal's website. We'd be happy to have you sign up for our Tech Flash newsletter, which gives you 3 to 5 new tech-related stories every day into your inbox. It's free. It's great information. It'll keep you up to date as soon as everything happens. You can also find me on Twitter at STLBizBFelt, or you can find me at TechFlash at STL.
Well, like I said, you always raise the quality of the show when you're on, and I really appreciate you coming on to talk about all the different cool things that are happening in and around the St. Louis area with you. So with that, if you have nothing else, then you have a great, wonderful rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next show, sir.
Yep, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me again. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
So, JJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing phenomenal, Kevin.
Good.
Colleen
and Kyle.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've ever seen Jim Gaffigan's comedic stand-up stuff. If you've watched the one where he goes through all of this crazy stuff before he goes on stage, he's in a fetal position crying on the floor. He'll eat pizza and start that's me. I'm just a hot mess, honestly. When I'm not on the show, there's a chance that I'm chanting around some fire somewhere. I could go into it, but it's neither here nor there. At this point of the show, we'd like to thank all of the people who contributed to making STL Tech Talk what it is. Our feedback, our people on Twitter who follow us and tweet at us and share our stories. We greatly appreciate that. Also, let's go ahead and get into the application picks of the week. We're going to go ahead and just do Kevin's. Because I had one, but that was shot in the face literally last night when I talked to one of the developers. And I won't bring it up. It hurts a little, but I completely understand. So let's just talk about yours, sir. This is our application picks for your favorite gadget.
Yeah. So this app I just found within the last few days, and it's called Magic Piano. People remember games like Rock Band, Guitar Hero, all these musically inclined games. Well, now developers are getting a little bit more creative and putting things like this on mobile devices. So this game is available on Android and iOS. It's free. Again, it's called Magic Piano. And if people are interested in piano and just love the sound of, songs being played on the piano, you can play along with this as well. The notes will drop down, and obviously there's a line that goes horizontally across the screen. You just tap the dot when it's in that range, and it plays the tune. There's a whole bunch of different songs available. You start off with a handful of free songs, kind of like the Super Mario Brothers theme, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, a couple Mozart, and a few other songs are available for free. And then you can obviously pay either monthly or yearly to get like VIP status songs, and you get access to a whole bunch more songs. Or you can level your account up and get access to even more pop songs like All About That Bass and Happy or Blurred Lines, just other things.
All About That Bass.
Yeah. So I don't know how that would play out on a piano.
I was trying to laugh louder, but man, my back is killing me. No, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So it's really fun. It's pretty addicting, but it's a battery killer. So make sure you're near a power plug if you want to play that, because it'll run through your battery, because next thing you know, you just keep playing and playing and playing it. It's really, really fun. I highly recommend it. Magic Piano.
Magic Piano. No. So that's a cool app. Before we go any further, I just wanted to thank our partners, Treehouse Network Shop. Big fan of that guy, Wes Hoffman. You're a cool dude, brother man. We're going back and forth a little on Twitter in a good way today. It was a lot of fun. Also, Tech Systems. Go to our website, STLTechTalk.com, and just click everywhere. Everywhere you see a place you can click, just click it. Find out what happens. Just to be curious. Tech Systems is essentially, if you're in the tech field, IT, software development, whatever, you can click on their link. It's not gonna spam you or anything like that, but it brings you to a place where you can find out where you can get another career or work better in the career that you're in. Unidev Pluralsight, where you can learn stuff. Also Charter Media. All of these are sponsors of the show in one way or another. So I just wanted to highlight those because I've been doing a terrible job, Kevin. We've been doing a terrible job not talking about all the people who actually would pay us if we talked about them. I also wanted to get into what's happening. So I've highlighted, and this is just my personal stuff, is I've highlighted some meetup groups that are going to be happening in and around the St. Louis area over the next coming weeks. The STL Ember group, which is going to meet tonight at 6 p.m. I suggest you go, just because. The St. Louis WordPress group, that's also tonight, 6 p.m. Also the STL C++, which, you know what, I've really tried hopping over to a bunch of different languages, but C++, I really enjoy it. I know I'm a masochist, but, that's the way I am. But this group meets up November 5th at 6 p.m. Also, the St. Louis BizSpark meetup is going to meet up November 6th. This STL Ruby group, which fan of the show, big fan of him also, Brad Urani usually goes to. Meetup group is 6 p.m. on November the 10th. So those are the ones that I picked out. I think a couple of other ones came across my email this morning, so I apologize if you didn't make the cut this go around. I'll definitely try to hit you up, and I think those were later in the month. So, Kevin, did you have any other meetups that you wanted to add?
Not that I can think of. I mean, there's, you mentioned a lot of great ones, and just get involved with Meetup. Do a search on your favorite topics, and that's a great way to find other ones that are in the area. And also, we've got things on our STLTechTalk.com/calendar. Things are posted there as well.
Use us. We are a resource, people. You're doing yourself a disservice if you're not going to STLTechTalk.com for something. I don't care what it is. Just go there. Kevin, would you agree?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Of course you would.
We also had another wonderful Windows Phone meetup at the Microsoft store in St. Louis, who are always really receptive and really gracious for us coming in and allowing us to come in and do our meetups there on a monthly basis.
We really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So thank you, everybody, for the sponsor of the show. We also wanted to throw out, here we go, announcements we already talked about. Hopeline, a domestic violence support organization that is by Verizon. I don't say that enough. That's by Verizon. So it's something good that Verizon does with all the frustrations with Verizon sometimes. Women's Safe House. We have a clickable link on this show page. Safe Connections. And Schumann Water Group. It provides clean drinking water. All you got to do is donate your old shoes. It's really easy to do, and it's local. It's a St. Louis thing. Thank you to our guest. We really appreciate Colleen, both Colleen and Kyle, taking out the time of their lives. And like I said, gorgeous people. If anything, just schedule an appointment to go say hey. We wanted to thank them for being on the show. So thank you to all of our fans. We love and thank you for the support of the show. So, Kevin, if you don't have anything else.
Nothing else today.
From the entire STL Tech Talk crew, stay frosty. We're out.